Before we start, I
Move all the way.
want to thank a few people for making this possible. First, I actually want to thank all of the CO students for their feedback on Facebook, which is what sparked our desire to start this series. And so our classmates for inspiring it and for providing that guidance. And then I've been working with Dory, Deli, Val, who couldn't be here, and Adriana in putting this together, so they deserve a lot of the credit for bringing this. And then our faculty sponsor, Nancy Giunta, who's been really helpful, as well as Glenn Rudick. And then a special thanks to BSR because they're actually financing our series for the year, so I want to thank them. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our guest presenter, Maurice Mitchell, who comes to us with 9 years of amazing organizing experience in Long Island, both doing just issue-based organizing, electoral campaigning, and a bunch of other stuff that he can share with you. But today he's going to talk to us about engagement, the initial engagement, and how to agitate community members.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Maurice Mitchell. I'm the coordinator of the New York State Civic Engagement Table. I think it's debatable whether or not my years of experience have been amazing, but it's true. It's been 9 years, 9+ years of organizing in different settings, electoral organizing, issue-based organizing, working in different communities, upstate Long Island, statewide, in Oakland, in DC, campus organizing, and the gamut of different models. And, so hopefully I'll be able to share some of my experiences and answer some questions you might have around organizing and different methodologies. And give enough time for there to be enough back and forth so that we could have a good conversation. Does that sound good to everybody? Sound good? Okay, so what I wanted to do, so I like to be as interactive as possible, and also I'd like to adjust workshops to sort of the needs of the participants. So what I got from Jessica was a sense that, first of all, just a caveat, from my experience, it takes about, on top of having sort of official sort of organizing training and learning about models, actually applied organizing and doing the work, I think it takes about 1.5 to 2 years before you actually get these things. So it's going to be a challenge to wrap up how to do agitation effectively in an hour. Hopefully I could share with you some concepts that you'll be able to carry with you to get a sense of how things work. But if we just go around quickly, I'd like to, and I know I have a limited amount of time, but I'd just like to get a sense of who's in the room. Just go around and your name and maybe really briefly, just your name, where you're from, and what do you want to get out of this, in like one sentence, not a whole paragraph. Okay, we could start here and just go around.
My name is Jose Mastre. I'm a clinical student. I'm just interested in organizing because of my background, so I wanted to hear what you have to say. And then I want to support also my good buddies in CO and that they're bringing this series.
I'm Maya. I'm a second-year group work student. I'm excited to be here, and I love organizing, so I just wanted to get another perspective.
I'm Shoshana. I'm also a second-year group work student, and I just want to learn something new. I'm really interested in organizing and don't know too much about it.
Kathleen, I'm a second-year CO student, and we're just going to soak up more info.
Larry was second-year admin student, soaking up information as well.
Hi, I'm Dawn, second-year CO student, and just here to listen and learn.
My name is Adriana. I'm an OYR CO student, and I'm all about practice.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Moore. I work for the Brookdale Center for Healthy Aging upstairs on the 8th floor. I'm a co-worker of Adriana, and I'm invited here. And we're always interested in learning skills on community organizing.
Hi, my name is Lily. I work with Adriana as well, so I'm more for moral support, but I want to get information about communities and everything.
Do you want to know? Oh, my name is Matthew. I'm an outside guest, and I'm looking to see what I want to get out of this is maybe how I can learn how to use organizational skills, agitation, and technology or in a virtual sense. That's more my role. I'm a programmer.
I'm Dory. I'm a second-year CO student, and I definitely, anybody knows me knows I like to agitate, so it's good to know how to do that even more effectively.
Hi, I'm Abigail. I'm a second-year CO student, and I am just here for whatever you have to offer.
Yeah.
I'm Marissa. I'm a second-year CO student, and I just want to learn more skills.
Rebecca, second-year clinical, and yeah, it sounded interesting.
I'm Melissa, first year clinical, and organizing came up in a recovery group at the Substance Abuse Center where I intern, and I'd like to see how those things can go to, how organizing and clinical work can go together.
Sarah, I'm a second year CO student. Again, I also got more info.
Well, I'm Joe. I'm a second year CO student. I want to make more people angry about stuff.
Okay.
I'm Katie. I'm a second year CO student, and this lunch series thing just seemed like a good idea, so I wanted to support it. Thank you.
My name is Deliana. I'm a second year CO student also, and I'm from Bulgaria. And even though I've done organizing in many different cultures, still being here in the US, organizing is a very cultural thing. So I still don't know how the American people organize and agitate. And, it takes time to find out it.
Hello, I'm Pamela. I'm a second year group work CO student, and I'm here I really appreciate hearing what people are doing right now.
Hi, I'm Naomi, and I'm also a second year CO student, and you asked us also to say where we're from, which nobody did really. I'm from Toronto. And
Well, that shows you how ensconced you are in your studies. You're like, I'm from being a second year.
And I'm just here to learn more.
Okay.
I'm Ellen. I'm a second year CO student, and I'm from here. And I'm just here to learn more about agitating.
My name is Simona. I'm a second year CO student. I just thought you were interested in learning about this topic.
Great. Okay. All right. So,
You're missing one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
I'm Caitlin. I'm a second year CO student. I'm from Detroit, and I'm here to learn new skills.
Great. Thanks. And you just came in. Just hi.
Hi.
Hi. No. You came at the right time. Your name?
I'm Cassandra.
And where you come from?
You mean like?
I know.
In
real life.
Right now, I feel like I'm coming just from like wetness.
Okay.
I originally came from San Francisco.
And what are you trying to get out of this thing?
I want to learn to agitate.
Okay, great. All right. Okay, so.
Yeah, one more here.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay.
I'm Alicia. I'm actually a first year CO student. I saw the flyer leaving class yesterday, and I thought it would be interesting to sit in, and I'm from
Great, thank you.
Professor Burkhardt didn't introduce
I was
himself.
I was going to raise my hand.
Okay.
Steve Burkhardt, I teach organizing here. I'm involved with Occupy, and I want to learn as much as I can about 21st century forms of direct action, because they're different from what I did back in the day.
Wow, okay. All right, so I have 45 minutes. and again, what I'm going to try to do is provide some foundational concepts, because again, number one, like an all-out organizing training takes at least a day in order to really burrow down into this work, and sometimes longer, sometimes 3 days, sometimes a week. And then once you have that training, it takes, from my experience, a year and a half to 2 years of applied use of these skills to really make them make sense to you in a real way. But what does when you hear social change, what does that mean to you? Social change. Revolution. Okay, anybody else? What is social change? Yeah.
Doing it differently this time rather than last time.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
I hear that, and it feels like really slow, creeping, incremental.
Okay. Anybody else? One more?
Making rhetoric true.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, you guys are all right? It's incremental reform. It's transformative, huge, revolutionary changes. it's all those things, right? And organizing is just one way to change society, right? Can anybody give me any examples of ways that people try to change society? Like things that people do in order to make things change? Any example of tactics or things you may see on the news or things you might participated in that the goal?
Marches.
Okay, so marches. All right. Go on. Anybody else?
Vote.
Okay, voting, yeah.
Petitions.
Okay.
Sit-ins.
Sit-ins, anything else?
Advocating for policy change.
Great, okay, good.
Backroom negotiations.
Yep. So advocacy.
Backroom. That too.
Backroom stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Right.
Great, strikes.
Lobbying.
Lobbying. Okay, we'll stop there. This is great. Strikes. Lobbying. Could add a few more, like using the law, like lawsuits, right?
Yeah. That's a very American.
Let's see, boycotts. Let's add that. Okay. Okay. So all of these are ways that people try to interface with society in order to change things, right? And all of these, some of these are tactics, all different tactics, but the goal is to change stuff, right? And there's organizing, right? So the style of organizing that I've been trained in is called relational organizing. And the foundation of that is based on the one-on-one relationship between people, the organizer and the community they're trying to organize, people within the community. A lot of times, when we're trying to change stuff, when we're trying to change society or move things, an organizing strategy will be related to maybe a lobbying strategy or a strike or a boycott. So all of these, or backroom deals, right, or any of these things, right? I'm pretty agnostic. I don't think any of these things are good or bad. They're just tactics that we could use in order to advance our agenda, right? And organizing is a specific tactic that has a specific definition. So the way that I understand organizing, and there's many different models, but the model that I'm most acquainted with, the significant difference, let's say, between organizing and advocacy. An advocate is somebody who is representing the interest of another group, right? So I'll go and advocate for a group of people, and I will be their proxy. And let's say I'll go to Albany on behalf of, students, CUNY students, right? So I'm advocating on behalf of CUNY students. I may not be a CUNY student, right? But, I'll be entrusted with the needs of CUNY students, and I'll go and do that, right? And that is effective, that works, and I've been involved in advocacy, right? The difference between, let's say, advocacy and organizing is that organizing is about the most directly affected people, right? Using their own experience in order to directly deal with the issue that they're facing, right? So it would mean, in the example of CUNY students, could somebody give me an example of what that would mean? Let's say CUNY students and tuition. Is that something that interests you? Okay. So I just want to draw this distinction between an organizing approach to dealing with tuition and an advocacy approach, right? So an advocacy approach might involve me going to Albany in order to talk to a bunch of state senators around it. What would an organizing approach look like in relation to CUNY tuition? Yeah.
It would look like what we actually have been doing in the last 2 years, organizing a group inside, taking part in marches and rallies, doing a teach-in for other students to give information on the struggle.
And did you go directly to the decision maker? Were you able to interact directly with the decision maker? So let's say, like, were you able to interact with the governor or an elected official or anybody like that?
Partially, we testified on a couple of occasions at the public hearing with the Board of Trustees, which is...
Okay, yep, exactly, exactly. So that's another piece of it, right? So it's the people who are most directly affected going to the individual, and usually it's the individual who has the decision-making power to change stuff, right? And asking that person directly, demanding that that person directly change it, right? So that's the distinction between organizing and, let's say, advocacy. They're both healthy tools, and in a social change agent's knapsack, it's good to have all these tools, and it's also good to understand the distinctions, right? Another really important distinction with organizing is that the campaign is developed by the people who are most directly affected. The language of the campaign is developed by the people that are most directly affected, right? So an organization that I work with, CVH, works mainly with people who live in public housing in Harlem, in East Harlem, right around the corner, right? Their campaigns are not developed by staff people, right? The staff people play an important role, but their campaigns, the language of the campaigns, what tactics they use, when they use them, are actually developed by the folks that are part of the campaign, the community residents of the public housing, right? That's another very important distinction of organizing and, let's say, advocacy. Now, marches are very important, mass mobilizations are very important, but the reason why organizing isn't necessarily mass mobilization is the relationship, right? The one-on-one relationships that are essential, right? If I call a rally, I could hand out a bunch of flyers, I could put something out on Facebook, right? And I never have to interact one-on-one with folks, right? And I never have to build relationships, I never have to do the one-on-one agitation, and I could get hundreds of people to, let's say, go to an Occupy Wall Street rally, right? I don't have those connections with those folks. Maybe the next day, I never see them again, right? So that's one of the distinctions between mass mobilizations and sort of relational organizing. Both are effective for different reasons, but they're different, okay? All right. So what I want to do now, so is everybody clear about the distinction between organizing and some of these other things? Does that make sense? Okay, great. All right. So I want to do a little, I want to illustrate organizing for you in a different way. Can I just get like a few volunteers, maybe like five people? 5 volunteers, please. Okay, great. Yeah, if you could just form a circle here, please.
We're running out of time.
Okay. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. 6? Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Great. 6. That's perfect. Okay. Form a circle.
No, take a note.
Wait, what happened to you? Wait, no.
No. That's good. I mean, yeah,
Okay.
somebody else. Yeah.
Somebody else.
Come on, Marissa.
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. Yeah. Time's ticking. So, this is an important sort of the impact of this is why I organize, and this is, I think, a very important impact of what organizing, the transformative ability of organizing, right? So, let's just say, hypothetically, you guys are a bunch of CUNY students, right? Okay. Now, let's say hypothetically, I wasn't the board of what? Regents, the board of trustees?
Trustees.
Okay, I'm a...
Untrusted.
Okay, I'm a untrusted, right? Okay, so, what I'm going to do, if you don't mind, okay, is I'm going to bully you, right? I'm going to tell you that all of these important sort of economic justifications for the fact that I need to increase your tuition by how many percent or whatever it is, right? Now, what are you going to do?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
If you're bullying me?
Yeah, I'm telling you that you're a lowly
I'll
student.
probably like react, harshly, like with rhetoric or tell you why you're wrong and
Okay,
come back at you.
Yeah, okay, so you are going to tell me why I'm wrong, right?
Right.
That means nothing to me.
Right.
I'm still going to raise your tuition. What are you going to do?
Now?
Yeah.
I've got 5 of us.
No, that's right. So, what are you going to do?
We're going to organize to try to make you change your policy or convince you to change your policy.
Show me what that looks like. What does that look like? Metaphorically, show me what that would look like.
We're like as a team, we're in it. We're not gonna like leave the other person behind or something.
I think he should be.
Sure, surround me, right? Okay. So, okay, and then now I'm gonna sing a different tune. So, well, maybe we could have a meeting, or maybe we could set up a commission in order to talk about your tuition and sort of figure out, So powerful institutions benefit from us being isolated, right? And for us sort of being convinced that we are individuals and we're not connected to community, right? When organizing is good, what it does is it switches, it's able to switch certain triggers in our mind, right? Where we move from feeling like we're an individual, dealing with individual problems, like you guys can sit down, thank you, right? Like, I'm an individual student dealing with my individual tuition bill and my individual finances, right? To, wow, we're all students dealing with the same problem and it's systemic. This isn't my personal issue. This is like a systemic problem that if we all work together, we could challenge, right? So that's a switch that happens. Another important psychological and sort of emotional switch that happens is you go from feeling like, wow, stuff happens to me, right? I'm an individual and stuff happens to me, to I make things happen or we make things happen in community, right? So that's another switch that happens through organizing and through being involved in movements and social change, right? And then a third thing that happens, or a third switch, is feeling the sense of scarcity, right? Feeling like there's not enough stuff, right? We're limited, we have limited resources, I'm just one person, I can't change anything. And feeling a sense of abundance, right? So, if they have money to spend on wars or incarceration and they always find that money, they can find money for tuition, right? They can, So it's those switches happen, and when those switches happen, it's really hard to unswitch them, right? And so as an organizer, I see my role as encouraging people to get involved in a movement, because in movements, that's where people make those switches. So, the professor talked about being involved in Occupy Wall Street. A lot of people got politicized through the Occupy movement for the first time, and those switches went off, and you saw people doing things that they've never done before, right? Because once those switches go off, it really changes how you interact with your society, with your world. It really changes what you're willing to do in order to fix your personal situation. Because it's no longer personal, it's a communal problem, it's a systemic problem. Does that make sense to folks? Okay, great. How am I doing with time? Half an hour. Okay, great. Okay, so I want to get to, what I'd like to do is get to the agitation piece, kind of discuss how to agitate a little bit. Then I'd like to open it up to questions and see if I could boil down to specific, maybe some more specific pieces that you guys might want to get. Does that sound cool? All right. Okay, so, yeah, let me just, I want to just kind of illustrate that point that I just raised. So individuals, it's the individual, a bunch of individuals, autonomous individuals, make up an organization, right? And several of these make a movement. And when people are in movements, they really change. Like they change the way they look at the world and their relationship to the world and their feeling of power. And so, are you familiar with the concept of like asymmetrical warfare, right? Familiar with that concept? Right? Okay, so basically it's just this concept of like, it's like David and Goliath, right? So just because an opponent is bigger and stronger doesn't necessarily mean you can't be effective if you're strategic with using the tools that you have, right? And so organizing is all about demystifying the idea that large institutions have the ability to make decisions over us. And that there's something almost magical that happens when we come together and then form a strategic plan using tactics in order to channel large institutions, corporations, government institutions, people who choose to make decisions over our lives, right? So the switch that I talked about that happens in people's head, that's agitation, right? An organizer, an effective organizer, encourages those switches to go off through agitating folks, okay? And the agitation happens through the one-on-one relationships I talked about, right? Now, the basis of the one-on-one is this concept of, well, there's a few concepts that you should carry, right? Number one, an organizer doesn't tell, an organizer listens, right? An organizer is asking, right? Not talking, okay? That's a really important distinction. And it's based on this premise that people are experts in their own personal decision making and experts in their personal problems and challenges, right? So if you're a CUNY student, you are an expert at the challenge of tuition. More so than a lot of people who make decisions around it, you are the expert. And as an organizer, my role is to ask you questions to learn from an expert about their condition and try to encourage them to look at their condition as a systemic problem versus an individual problem. Because I'm convinced that once people are able to make that connection to systemic issues and communal issues, it'll drive them to act. And if they see themselves as individuals, they'll feel isolated and not want to act, right? So, so the split is like, you should be 70% listening, 30% talking, or 60% listening and 40% talking, right? And when you're talking, you're mainly asking questions, right? You're not telling, okay? You're mainly asking questions. And the reason why you're doing that is because we recognize that each individual is unique. Each individual comes with their own set of issues, their own histories, and as an organizer, you want to really connect and learn what's going on. And the reason why you're trying to do that is that everybody's switch, everybody's point of agitation is different, and it's based on their self-interest, right? So, and so this model of organizing, and there's many models of organizing, and they're all valid in different ways, but this model of organizing is based on the premise that we are all basically self-interested, right? And that is a condition of humanity. So the organizer should learn what the person's individual self-interest is, and then connect that self-interest to the commonly shared sort of societal problem that they're facing, right? And then the agitation will occur, right? So let me give an example. So is the CUNY tuition example, is that a real example?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody has anybody worked on that issue? Yeah? Okay. So I want to get a volunteer that would role play with me and be an organizer. Who wants to be a CUNY organizer around tuition?
Wow. That movement is not doing well. Stand up, students.
Okay, how's this? I'll be the organizer. Since I am an organizer. You just have to be a CUNY student.
Y'all can do that one now.
We already are.
Exactly.
Volunteered once though. Yeah, I'm okay with doing it again, but I feel like y'all should step up.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. So, we're going to do a little role play of a scenario where the organizer would interact with you. All right. Let's see. Give me a possible scenario where a student, or where would I see you? Would I see you downstairs or something?
Yeah,
Another student?
you see me downstairs in the red chairs.
The red chairs? Okay, so I'm gonna see you in the red chairs, and I wanna sign you up for this trip to Albany that we're having to meet with the trustees. Let's say, okay? Okay. Oh, hey, how you doing?
Hey. How's it going?
Good. Hi, I'm Maurice. I'm with CUNY Students for Fair Tuition. Yeah, it's a group of us that got together because we don't feel satisfied with the tuition hikes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, have you heard about it?
Yeah, I did a little bit. I think I saw you guys' Facebook group or something.
Yep, totally. So what's your name?
I'm Katie.
Katie, hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so Katie, I think this is the first time I've seen you. Are you a CO student?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am.
Okay. Yeah, me too. Yeah. I've been trying to organize a bunch of the CO students on that issue. How many years have you been going to school?
I mean 2 years, but maybe with class on different days or something.
Got you. Well, what brought you to social work? Right?
Oh, well, I've done community organizing in the past with mostly youth and was interested in building those skills. And I feel like social work opens up a lot of different doors if I want to pursue different things.
Oh, no, totally. Like, I got involved because I used to do some work around immigrant rights, and then I wanted to develop some better skills and then kind of go back into that movement. So I totally relate to you. So what's, like, have you been feeling the crunch on this tuition stuff? It's like...
Yeah. I mean, when I paid my bill for the semester, and I thought I had the whole thing paid, and then there was an extra, like, $325 on it, and I was like, I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
That was unpaid.
Was that a big deal for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge deal, but I definitely didn't plan for it.
No,
so.
totally. Yeah, a bunch of my friends are pretty, like, riled up over it. So you said you've been working with students, with young people? Or?
Yeah, high school students.
Okay.
Mostly.
So, like, what do you think about their chances of going to, like, a CUNY or something like that?
Oh man, no, they ask me, and I always feel bad because I'm like, yeah, it's the most affordable option. But you guys should know it's going up, and when you graduate in 3 years, it's going to be worse.
How's that make you feel?
I mean, I feel bad because I feel like they're not going to have the same opportunities.
Well, it pisses me off too. And like, that's one of the reasons why I've been talking to not just you, but everybody here in order to get involved with this movement, because I don't want to just be pissed off by myself. I want to try to do something about it. We need to get you signed up. You're like the perfect person to be a part of this. Like, we're going to Albany, and we think we have a fighting shot to actually stop the tuition hikes if enough of us get together.
How long are you going to Albany?
It'll be like for like 7 hours, but we're gonna have like sandwiches, and we're gonna play, like, fun games on the bus. It's gonna be cool, and it'll be great for like us CO students. Like, we're always busy, we have all our different lives, but to get together and do something like this, and like actually, like, we're social work students, we should be like changing society, right? Let's do it now, right?
That's true. How many people are going?
Well, we need to get 50 people on the bus. And I've talked to everybody here. I plan on getting everybody here signed up. and we need you. Like, it's not going to work if one person comes, but if everybody comes, we can really do it.
That's true.
So can I sign you up?
Can I sign up for like information? You can tell me more.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, how's this? I'm gonna sign you up, and I'm gonna follow up with you like in 2 days, and I can give you all the information you need, and you can check the website. Sound cool?
Okay.
All right,
yeah,
cool.
that sounds cool.
All right, see. Okay. Okay, so you guys are paying attention, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So any comments? Anybody see what I attempted to do there? Yeah.
I like the fact that you didn't bum rush her with the tuition hikes. You really did that relational organizing. You tapped into her experiences before, where she currently is, and I just thought that was on point.
Right. Anybody else notice anything that happened there? Yep.
I liked how you would ask her, her opinion about it. Like you were like, "How's that make you feel?" And then I liked how you were honest with where you were at. And you were like, "It pisses me off," and like you connected with her with your story too.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
You found out what she cared about, and then you like connected it to what the campaign's about.
Right. Okay. Very observant students. Great. Yeah. Yes.
The piece that kept resonating for me was that this person is directly affected by whatever issue that you were talking about, and it would be, as an organizer, a little bit easier to get that person on board your campaign, but I thought about what it would look like to get someone on board who was not directly affected. So I thought about that a lot while you were doing that.
Well, that's a good. Anybody else? Any observations? Yeah.
I just, when you asked about like, oh, what do you think about it in relation to the high school students or whatever, like inside me I was like, that is such a good question, because we talk about it all the time with them, because they know I'm in school and they're all looking at college, and like, it's a huge problem with me having to be like, yeah, well, I don't know if you guys will afford it in 3 years. And I was like, that's such a good, like, on your feet question.
I've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. There you go.
Yep.
I saw it as you did a great job. It was wonderful how you managed to bring her from the individual to the collective. Honestly, in my personal experience, in relation to the tuition hikes, this is how I got involved. When, I don't know, through a meeting, through a discussion, I saw how it doesn't affect me, but I'm part of a collective and it's important. So this was great, but
yes.
Yes. There's one thing, it is also a general question I have, but I saw it happening. When you did such a great job involving her, no? You talked about how we'll go to Albany and we're going to talk to the Board of Trustees and we have a chance that we will stop this, we will change it.
Yep.
Honestly, from my experience, what I saw, this is very unrealistic. Also, in the current context.
Okay.
We did all this. I mean, CUNY has become such a steep pyramid, and the decision making is so from the top 1% or and whatever we do, we like. I don't know. It's really difficult to achieve any change in the context. So at least, I don't know. It sets people up for a big expectation, and then whoa, my God.
So number one, most like a standard one-on-one interaction is an hour, and it's set up like what I would do is interact with her, and I would say, listen, I want to follow up with you later, and I'd sit down and do like a full one-on-one where I share a lot more about my experience, what brings me to this fight in a real way. I tell my story, and I invite her to tell her story. What connects her in a real way as an individual to this, right? So it adds to the, it creates more energy, more emotional energy with the agitation. Number two, everything worth fighting for is very hard, right? So all organizing work is super hard, and we never get in it feeling like, oh, it's a slam dunk. Otherwise, we wouldn't need to be organizing, right? And it's the odds are always tremendous, and they're always stacked up against us. But historically, people have collectively done amazing things through organizing, and the reason we have most of the things that we have, the reason that I'm here able to stand in front of a classroom is through the organizing of individuals that had ridiculous odds that were much more challenging than the tuition fight, right? Now, I never get involved in something knowing I'm gonna lose. I only get involved thinking that there's a chance that we can win, right? And if there's a chance that we can win, I want to engage. I don't just like to struggle. I like to win, right? And that's for another conversation around organizing, evaluating your fights and making sure that you're strategic, and also evaluating your resources and figuring out what you can win, how you can win. And it doesn't. I mean, it actually is counterproductive to engage in fights that are losing battles and engage in fights where you don't have the resources to win, right? But usually there's a path to victory. You just have to figure out what resources you might need to make it happen. Okay, so I'm gonna move on. That's okay with everybody? So one of the things I want to point to. So an experienced organizer, when you're interacting with an experienced organizer, it'll feel like a free-flowing conversation, right? But from the perspective of the organizer, the organizing conversation is never chit-chat, right? The organizer is always engaging with somebody in order to ask them to become part of the movement somehow, right? That is the goal of the organizing conversation, right? It's not just like, oh, hey, what's going on? How are your kids? Cool. No, the organizer's job is to encourage people to move from the individual to collective action, to move from things are happening to me to I make things happen, right? That is the job of the organizer, to make that switch happen. And it's just practice. The more times you engage in these conversations, the more free-flowing they are, and the less they are a series of steps. But we don't have enough time, but the conversation is a series of steps, right? And I'll just go through it. There's an introduction where you credential yourself. So I said, oh, I'm part of this organization, right? That established me as being a legitimate person to be able to talk to you. I gave my name, I credentialed myself as being part of a movement, right? Then after that, I took a step back and I shared something about me and where I came from. So the organizer needs to share a little bit in order to create a space of comfort and trust for people to share, right? Then I stepped back, and then it turned into a more interrogatory sort of dynamic where I asked questions about her, and I wanted to get a sense of where she was coming from, right? So I asked, in a longer organizing conversation, I would say like, hey, let's just take a step back, right? Because what people do, and this is not helpful, is in the very beginning of the conversation, they're like, hey, I want you to get involved in the rally. Like Thursday we're going, could you sign up? You take a step back, and if you have enough time, you take a big step back to the beginning. Hey, listen, I'd like to get a big picture sense of where people are coming from. Like, everybody isn't involved in social work. Everybody isn't interested in changing tuition and closing the budget gap. Or what is it about you that brings you to this fight? What is it about your experience? A lot of times, people say that there's something that happened in their childhood where they were acquainted with injustice, and that's what brings them to working in social work or working. It's a lot. For a lot of people, it's different stuff. What is it for you? Is there any particular event or experience that you had that really brings you to social justice, or and people, number one, we all as humans, it's just part of the human condition, we love to talk about ourselves, and we love to share our story, and oftentimes we don't get a chance to share our stories, right? So the organizer is giving somebody an opportunity to share their story, and sometimes for the first time in their mind, connect their history to the contemporary fight for justice. And they're like, wow, when I was 11, my dad got laid off, and it was so unfair, and we really had to struggle. And but luckily, he was part of a labor organization, And I saw how that organization and his brothers and sisters in the labor union really, really helped him. And I saw how he struggled to put food on the table, and I decided that I wanted to get involved to make sure that other families wouldn't have to deal with that. And thanks for asking me that. I never even thought about that. That's why I do this work, right? So it's a deeply felt personal journey, right, that you need to connect to, right? And so I did a little sliver of that when I asked her about, what she does and the students, and, but all of this is very premeditated. 10 minutes? Cool. And in my mind as an organizer, I'm thinking like, okay, what's your self-interest? Did I get it? Let me kind of dig a little bit deeper. I think something's here. All right, let me ask another question. Oh, okay, so something about the student. Okay, how do I attach it to, how do I tie that to this issue? How do I broaden that? How do I connect her personal relationship to these students to this more global problem around tuition hikes or budgeting or austerity? Okay, this is how I do it. Let me ask her this. So those are the things that are going on in the mind of an organizer, right? It's very deliberate. It's very deliberate, right? But it should feel like a free-flowing conversation, because if it feels all weird and deliberate, then people are going to be really freaked out. What the hell's going on here? I swear, right? So, that's why, as an organizer, you do this stuff a lot in order to build that level of fluency with the different steps and with agitation, right? Okay. So that's how you agitate, okay? And if we had a much longer amount of time, I would be able to develop it a little bit more, but I wanted to give you some underlying sort of concepts and principles around how agitation works and why we choose to agitate, the underlying ideas and presumptions that we make about how people think, and how we use that in order to bring people into a social justice movement. So is that clear?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so what I would like to do with the next, 10 minutes? I'd like to open this conversation up, see if anybody has any questions, and see if I can share some of my experiences, if other folks can share their experiences, and if we could maybe learn a little bit more about organizing by doing that. So if there are any questions, comments, or yes?
I didn't hear you mention the piece that I said, how do you help bring someone in who is not directly affected by a particular issue?
Thank you. So there's two things I want to say. Number one, organizing is best done with people who are most directly affected, and it's best done when the organizer is also part of that group of most directly affected, right? So the ideal situation is, let's say I'm organizing CUNY students, the organizer would be a CUNY student, right? Sometimes that doesn't always happen, and you can still be an effective organizer and organize communities that you aren't from, but it is an organizing challenge, and it isn't the most ideal setup. The most ideal organizing situation is I am most directly affected, and I'm organizing other people most directly affected, right? Now, organizing allies is also a very important piece, right? So I'll give an example. I worked on a successful campaign to limit the size of a county jail in Suffolk County, right? They wanted to double the size of the jail, right? And we worked with the most directly affected people, which were the family members of incarcerated people, right? And we recognized that we had to broaden the campaign and include other people, allies, in order to be successful. So we actually found allies in unlikely places. So we had the family members, right? And then it was one person, but it was so effective. A really conservative woman, right? But who was very, very principled in her conservatism, right? And she just was like, this thing is way too expensive. I don't care about the people. And it was really expensive. It was like $500 million, right? And so I was able to do a few one-on-ones with her, and I got her on board with the campaign, right? Whenever we did press events, we would have her speak, and we would have other folks speak. And it was really effective in order to sort of, it was effective use of an ally in order to frame the conversation. So the conversation was no longer about of this marginal group of family members of incarcerated people. It was a coalition of family members of incarcerated people, middle-class conservative ladies with, you know, lapel pins that say "God bless America," and like everybody in between, right? And it worked. And I did the same thing. It was based on her self-interest, right? So she wasn't directly affected, but it resonated enough with her self-interest of wanting lower taxes and a smaller budget that she got engaged, right? But the way I engage her is very different than the way I engage those folks. So I'm always clear that she's an ally, and these are the most directly affected folks. And if any decision has to happen in the campaign, these folks are making the decisions, not her, right? Okay. She's supporting the work, right? But because at the end of the day, this is something that is most deeply felt by them, they need to be the ones that are in the captaincy, right? Okay, any other, yes?
Well, you know, in our introductions, you heard some people say CO or clinical or admin, right? And I think those are the divisions about what our major focus is. But I think what you illustrated here is how essential every aspect of that is to organizing. The macro, the micro, clinical skills are necessary, administrative skills are necessary, and being aware in your practice. You know, if you're going to have an anti-war protest these days, right? You're going to have people who are against it with your usual suspects, but you're also going to have now conservatives at their rally because it costs too much.
Yes.
And they want smaller government.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah. Right? The wider the tent, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sorry, so I was going to ask, so you identified this woman as an ally, and I understand strategically why she was an important face and voice to include from a strategic purpose, from a strategic place, but does that woman identify as an ally of those people directly affected, or is that a term you're using in the context of strategy?
It's a strategic term.
Right, but she wouldn't call herself that, right?
No, I mean, she from an emotional place would not consider herself an ally of incarcerated people. Right? But I was talking strategically, like looking at a strategy chart, which is like a whole other conversation, right? Like we have a lot of tools that we use, like, and we have like that terminology deals with people who are not directly affected, that are part of the campaign, right? But yeah, she's not. Yes, exactly. Okay. Yeah. And I just want, yes. Yeah.
Do you like an email list or something?
An email list?
Like a piece of paper I could write my info on? Want to get more on this?
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah. If we can circulate something, yeah. Yeah.
You talked at one point. I heard you say something about this particular model. Were you describing the asymmetrical warfare model, or were you? What kind of a model?
Okay,
were
when
you
I said this particular model,
yes.
I was describing relational one-on-one organizing, which is what there's many different types of organizing, right? There's like straight up so organizing has been going on since the beginning of time, right? Just recently we decided to professionalize it. Great, I got a job out of it, wonderful. But organizing is just the idea of people collectively coming together in order to challenge stuff that they don't think makes sense, right? And over the past few decades, in the context of the United States, folks have begun to officialize and sort of put together all of the shared learning of the organizing that happened, let's say, in the late 60s, early 70s, right? There's certain schools, there's the Alinsky model. I don't know if anybody's heard of Saul Alinsky, right? Okay, that's a certain model, right? There's all different types of models based on your ideology. There's more horizontal, anti-authoritarian models of organizing that are different, right? There's different sort of like the school of organizing that I come from is related to Alinsky, right? But it isn't like pure Alinsky organizing. And also, through my time with organizing, I've been able to pick up other pieces and other organizing models. There's faith-based organizing and sort of there's certain faith-based organizing models that are very specific. There's certain similarities around agitation, but they're different. So organizing is a big tent. How many minutes do I have? A minute. A minute. Okay. Wow. All right. So, yeah, if you know, I'm interested in having this, in continuing this conversation. We have technology. If you guys want to Let me share my email address and my information. Also, I work with the New York State Civic Engagement Table, which is a grouping of more than 20 organizations, and many of them are based here in New York. If you guys are interested in, as social work students, working with any of our groups or working directly with me and the table, send me an email and we could get you in contact with some of these organizations. It's newyorkcet@gmail.com, and you can reach me directly at 516-425-1272. Our organizations do wonderful work.
Could you read that out again?
New York, NEWYORKCET, cat, egg, table, I guess.
The bottom one.
Maurice. Yeah, my name is Maurice Mitchell, and this is 516-425-1272. And our organizations run the gamut from organizations that work with people who are coming out of coming out of incarceration, and a lot of the folks coming out of incarceration deal with HIV and AIDS. We have immigrant organizations that work on the DREAM Act. We have organizations that work on LGBT issues. We have an organization in the Bronx that does community and clergy work. A lot of great work out there. CVH, which is right around the corner. So if you guys want to get involved, reach out to me. I really want to thank everybody that put this together. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you for the faculty that's here, and all the CO or clinical or whatever students. Thanks everybody. Appreciate it.
You all should have both an evaluation form and a video release form. If you could just complete those. We hope to make this video available to first year, so we need your release to post that.
And when is our next one?
I'm sorry?
Do you have the date of the next one?
March 28th.
March 28th.
Media strategies will be the topic.
Wednesday, 1 to 2.
We'll collect them on the way out. Or you can leave them at the table.
Thanks, Jess.
Thank you, everyone.